I'm Mary Miracle, and I'll be your host for this evening. Jim Gerhardt, also from the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter, will be the timekeeper. Each candidate will be provided with 2 minutes for opening remarks. Each candidate will also have 90 seconds to respond to the questions presented. And then to close the event, each candidate will also have 90 seconds to make any closing remarks. The moderator of our event is Golden Council member and former VP of Alumni Benefits and Services, Mark Robbins, who also happens to be Alpha Theta 875. So please note, we are recording this and we will make it available by posting it on the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter Facebook page. And again, if you have not done so, please, unless you are one of the speakers this evening, please turn off your video so that Mark and the candidates are visible and hopefully in plain view. So Mark, the screen and the microphone are yours.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and thank you all for signing into our Zoom Meet the Candidate Forum. This evening, we're happy to hear from our 3 very qualified candidates, and shortly we're going to hear their opening statements. I'm going to introduce each candidate, and then after I introduce all 3, they're going to make an opening statement. So the first candidate I'd like to introduce to you is Monica Monroe. Monica was initiated at the Epsilon Kappa chapter at Shepherd University. She's the current regional vice president for the Capital Region. Monica is also vice president of chapter operation of the Frederick, Maryland Alumni Chapter and president of the Shepherdstown, West Virginia Alumni Chapter. Our second candidate is James Kuhn, who is initiated at Xi Upsilon chapter at Marshall University. He's a member of the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter, and currently he serves as East Central Regional Vice President and National Individual Discipline Policy Task Force Chairman. Our third candidate is Stacy Jordan. Stacy was initiated at the Epsilon Chi chapter at Georgia Southern University. Currently, she serves as district director for Xi Rho and the Bowie Colony. Stacy is also a member of the DC Metro Alumni Chapter. She has previously served as the regional vice president of the Capital Region and on the board for the our Leadership Foundation. She is also a Leadership Foundation trustee emeriti. All of our candidates are Tier 2 certified Delta Sig leaders, and all 3 are members of the Golden Council. So I'm going to start out in this order for an opening statement. I'm going to start with James Kuhn. Hello, James.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming and hearing what we all have to say, and hopefully sticking around afterwards to just kind of hanging out with the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter and everything. I know that there's going to be quite a bit of stuff that we're going to go over in our statements and our answers for the different questions and everything like that. But I'm sure that there'll be things that we won't get to and everything. As always, feel free to reach out. I'm always up for discussing Delta Sig everything. So yeah, y'all.
Okay. Our next candidate is that we're going to hear from, opening statement, is Stacy Jordan.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, everyone. And I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for attending this event tonight. As a brother who is proud of my Southern background, and I've been here in the Northeast province since March of 2008. So it's almost 13 years next week. And so I really have gotten to know a lot of people over the years, and I am looking forward to the opportunity to discuss what I would like to do if I'm given the privilege of being the provincial vice president. I really want to put my 6 years of experience as a member of the board of trustees, my service in a variety of elected and non-elected fraternity roles, and my professional experience as a supervisory IT specialist to be an active partner with the brothers in the province. And I look forward to hearing the questions tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. And our next candidate is Monica Monroe. Opening statement, Monica. You're on mute. Oh.
Lots of technical difficulties tonight, apparently. Thanks so much, Mark. And thank you to the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter. Thank you guys for being the first, I'm hopeful of many chapters that host events like this. What a great opportunity for us to start out so early, sharing our experiences and our platforms and sharing a little bit of ourselves with you all. So thank you all so much for being here. It's great to see the engagement on a first meeting as such. Thank you to Mary, especially for those amazing blast emails that you have sent out. They're great. Over the past 4 years as an RVP, one of the things that I've loved is the overall engagement and diversity of our chapters and our brothers. And I'm so excited to talk to you all tonight. And again, thank you guys for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, I'm going to start with the questions. The questions were submitted to the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter to Mary. And I'm going to read the question. I'll read the questions first and let the candidates respond in order. If you want me to repeat the question, which would make sense, I'm happy to do that. So just let me know when I get to each candidate. Our first question: what specific and actionable steps would you as PVP take to increase collegiate involvement and stakeholder engagement when making decisions that impact the province? And we'll start with Stacy.
Can you repeat the question, Mark? I just want to make sure I got it correct.
Yeah, no problem. Basically, it's what specific steps would you take as PVP to increase collegiate involvement and engagement when making decisions that impact the province?
Thank you. The first thing is, as I've talked to some of the collegiate chapters the last month, they want visibility from their PVP. So really, again, working with the RVP team to set up times where we can do a regional town hall, where each region at a designated time will get an opportunity for me and their RVP and their DDs to brief them on significant decisions. And secondly, having a committee where at the provincial level, marketing and communications, where we do have collegiates on that committee so that we will get their input on major decisions. And of course, it's not just collegiates, but also the alumni as well, because the alumni chapters do, especially the DDs, have influence with our collegiate chapters. So you want to make sure that everyone within the leadership is able to be involved in the decision-making process.
Great. Monica, you're up next. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind. I think I got the gist of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a long question. No problem. What specific steps would you take as PVP to increase collegiate involvement and engagement when making decisions that impact the province?
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Kind of similar to what Stacy mentioned, the first thing that I thought of and that came to mind was that marketing and communications share at the provincial level, and also encouraging RVPs to have a similar role in their regions. You know, again, like Stacy said, you know, we've been listening. I've been personally listening for the past 4 or so years as an RVP and as a leader of what's working and what is not. And I think there's always room for improvement. And I think one of the greatest ways we can improve in our province right now is communication. And I think that that chair role will be significant in the fact that, you know, businesses don't survive without marketing. And I think the same thing is true for our fraternity. If we don't market ourselves, if we are not present if we are not available to our collegians and our alumni base, we fall behind. And we're kind of seeing that, not complaint, but that concern. And so I think that will help significantly in our province.
Okay, James, do you want me to read the question again?
I'll just go ahead and go for
Go ahead,
it,
that's
just
fine.
for the sake of time and everything like that. So yeah, I feel like trying to give collegiates that understanding that even though we are leaders and they may think that we have all the answers, we don't always have those answers. And that's where, as a leader, we need to be able to reach out to collegiates and have them understand that if they have ideas, they should bring them to their DD, RVP, PVP, to try to get the conversation rolling. Because a lot of times I feel like students kind of feel like, oh, well, they know what they're doing. They don't want to hear from me and everything. I'm just a student at, such and such college. They need to understand that if they have an idea and they feel like it's not being addressed, they need to, come forward and let us know, because that's how we need to communicate with each other. You can't just expect, that your concerns are going to be answered if nobody's speaking up about it. The ways to do that and everything to kind of help open up that communication and everything and really empower our student leaders. I would say, kind of like was Stacy and Monica had mentioned and everything, having town halls and everything like that is going to be helpful, as well as making sure that students are on committees as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. The second question's a little shorter. So this question is, give 2 specific examples of how you plan to increase meaningful involvement amongst alumni. And we'll start this off with Monica.
Oh, I'm going to be a pain. Can you ask that one more time? I'm so sorry.
No problem. Give 2 specific examples of how you plan to increase meaningful involvement amongst alumni.
I think it falls back on that communication and marketing chair for one of them, for sure. I think with my experience in even starting alumni chapter and being an alumni chapter, you know the ins and outs of how things work and how things don't. And it's awesome to have those experiences to pull from, to not only help other chapters get started, but also encourage other chapters. And so using that basis, I think, is a great way to help other chapters in the struggles that they have. Regionally, we are a very tiny region and we are very compact. Provincial is a little bit different, but I think that's one way. And then maybe another way is trying to figure out a way to meet our alumni base on a different level. Getting them involved in things around the province that, pulling from that alumni base, I think, is crucial. We have so many amazing, talented people across the country, but especially in our province, that are very talented and very have very good, deep professional roots. And it's best, I think, that we start utilizing those. We see individuals that are in different markets. Like, I'm in a small business and I can pass along that information. There are tons of other people that are in different trades and different environments that I think we can pull from. So figuring out how to pull them in and get them more involved.
Okay, we're at time. We're at time. I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off, but we're a little bit over time. Okay, same question to James.
Just to make sure, can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Give 2 specific examples of how you plan to increase meaningful involvement among alumni.
I would say part of it is, making sure that you are, working the network of alumni and everything, kind of like Monica had mentioned. I know having the Cincinnati alumni chapter, who tends to be, one of the leading alumni chapters in the province and in the nation and everything. I've heard plenty of great ideas that it's just one of those things that you don't get to always implement and everything like that. But reaching out and finding best practices amongst different alumni chapters. Basically, we need to be able to make sure that we're providing the value and everything there too. So making sure that we're having things that don't only apply to just collegiates or just new alumni or something like that. I know the Cincinnati alumni chapter has held events and everything for new or upcoming alumni, I'll say, where they, talk about different things that they're going to be running into, whether it's, how to do your withholding on taxes, the cybersecurity things that Stacy's going to be talking about in April and everything. But having those things at, for any alumni at any walk of life right now, just having things about, retirement, whatever it may be, all those. Hi, Jim. But yeah, just having those opportunities to provide value to keep alumni engaged.
Okay, Stacy.
No, I'm good about the question. I think one of the ways to keep our alumni engaged is a lot of times that the collegiate chapters have a list of alumni, reaching out to them and getting that list and say, hey, let's see if these individuals have ever done anything at the provincial level. So involving new alumni. And if you involve someone who's never been asked before, they might actually keep coming back. The pandemic has allowed us to use a virtual format. So having the ability to do a hybrid event that we can bring alumni from different parts of the province who may not go to a lead event. And again, the third thing would be the committee structure. Again, if you ask someone to help you with something, people stay engaged and really want to be a part of the solution. And so again, I know you said 2, but I think it's 3 different ways to do that, involving our collegiates in their list of alumni, being able to involve new people into the committee structure, and using a hybrid in professional and communications and things of that nature, so that you involve people who have not been involved.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. The chapter leadership funds are a relatively new opportunity for supporting collegiate chapter educational programs. How do you convince donors to contribute to the CLFs without taking away from other Leadership Foundation programs? And we'll start this one off with James.
So I guess I've thought about this a few times and everything, and how, you would be able to do that. If anything, I feel that the chapter leadership funds, basically, I feel like that they probably increase giving, no matter who it is. I feel like somebody that's already donating, they probably already kind of found a cause that they can get behind and everything. And usually whenever you talk about chapter leadership funds, it's talking about somebody's home chapter. So they're going to have that deep feeling. Or if they're a volunteer leader, they get to see other chapters that may be struggling that would need something like that. So it gives them another chapter that they can kind of get behind, basically. And then for brothers that haven't been engaged, a lot of times it's one of those things that they want to feel like they can see where the change is coming from. And it's not so much, like, hey, if I donate to a scholarship fund or something for lead events and everything like that, I may not necessarily know anybody that it's actually affecting. Whereas if they're donating to a chapter leadership fund, they can see that is, sorry, somebody had just popped into the participants here, so letting them in quick. But yeah, just making sure that they are able to have, sorry. So having the chapter leadership funds, basically it allows people that haven't been donating or anything like that, that easy way to get back into donating and say, well, at least I can help my home chapter. And then once they start donating with their home chapter, then, you know, they can start seeing all the other programs that are available through the Leadership Foundation, and then
Okay,
find
fine.
something that helps them.
Okay, no problem. Thanks. Next up would be Stacy. Do you need me to repeat the question?
I do not. So as a board of trustee member, when we created the chapter leadership fund, we saw it as a vehicle for brothers who are passionate about supporting either their home chapter or a local chapter in their area in a tax deductible manner. The purpose for us, it was not created to take away from any existing program, but to add an option for supporting the foundation. It was really the last couple of years, we, in terms of our programming, we want to find passion. So if someone is passionate about giving to a local chapter, those are the programs that we created. If people are passionate about DEI and things like that. So we really, one of the things I want to do is work with individual chapters to do targeted marketing, like what Alpha Data's doing, Cincinnati. They're doing someone alumni student a matching gift program, doing that across, working with the foundation to make sure that our province has chapter ambassadors, which will reach out to the brothers who have never given, and also to initiate with those who have a chapter, say, hey, if feel free to give. Because like I said, it was never given to take away from programs, but it was given as an option for brothers who are passionate about their chapter and not the different other program vehicles.
Great, thank you. Monica.
Yes, thank you. So as Jim and Stacy mentioned before, I think this is a great program. I wish this was thought of when I was a collegiate, because I remember going to my alumni chapter all the time and asking for money to go somewhere. And this would have been a great avenue to have already in place. So I'm very thankful for it that we have it now. And, selling this, quote unquote, to our alumni base is actually pretty amazing in the fact that, we can explain the benefits that the CLF has, not only for alumni base, but also obviously for your undergrad chapter, making that connection, making that personal connection, I think is one of the greatest things that you can highlight with the CLF, because you are donating to a specific chapter. And so we've seen this regionally work out very well. And it's been a great promotional piece to alumni to use as, hey, here's how you can support a chapter. You don't have to donate to a specific event, but this is what this is going to. I love the fact that we have now branched into the speaker portion with CLF, because I think that is so amazing. So it's one of the great tools that I think we can definitely utilize now and in the future.
Great, thank you. Next question. What are at least two specific proposals to improve the accuracy of our fraternity database? And how would you implement those proposals besides forming a committee to investigate them? And we'll start that off with Stacy.
So Patriot is a twofold situation. Part of it is the central office, because they manage the data, they use it for their reporting. And then the second situation is the chapters at the collegiate and alumni chapter level. One solution for me is to look into whether or not we can get address verification software to verify the addresses, the mail-in addresses. A lot of the legacy people are not on email, but to do that. The second thing is giving the collegiate and alumni chapters an opportunity to look at the lost alumni database. And because collegiate chapters get some information that may not get shared, giving them an incentive to update that information. And also for the alumni chapters, if they meet somebody trying to engage them in a professional speaker and they get updated information, having the alumni chapters do that as well. So now that we have updated the website to volunteer information, again, working with the central office staff to make sure, do emails of people to make sure that that is being communicated as well.
Very good. Thank you. Monica, you're up.
Can you repeat the first part of that question, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What are at least 2 specific proposals to improve the accuracy of the fraternity database? And how would you implement these proposals besides forming a committee to investigate it?
Awesome. Thank you for repeating that whole thing.
Okay.
Along the lines of what Stacy said, I think it is twofold. It is finding a system that works the best for us. I think one of the biggest things that we learned over the pandemic and with COVID is that we're a little bit behind, to say the very least. And, keeping up with that, a system that will work well, not only currently, but for our future alumni and collegiates, I think is important. And again, what Stacy said, working with central office staff, I think is essential in finding what works well for us. But also, I think it's helpful, you mentioned the committee and everything, getting some feedback from your students and your alumni base as well. I think they're going to be the ones that are going to be probably using it the most. And we want to make sure that in those situations that the system works well, not only for our leadership, but also for our undergraduates and our alumni.
Very good. Thank you. James.
So I think no matter what system you have and everything like that, part of it is like the way that the current system's set up is that people can go in, they can update their information and everything like that. That's going to be your best source. Is it coming straight from the person, not going through somebody else? So I would say that, while a new system probably is needed and everything like that, we need to focus on better alumni engagement, because we need to be able to provide alumni with more value in their membership. So no matter what stage they're in their, fraternal journey. But basically, so having the opportunities like, those that are offered by the Cincinnati Alumni chapter, like I mentioned before, whether it's, providing stuff about, going into retirement or kids going into school and how to, balance work life and everything like that. Being able to provide that alumni engagement it'll put Delta Sigma Pi at the forefront of people's minds. So then they say, okay, there's this event that I know is coming up. They have all these things. They're thinking about Delta Sigma Pi. Now, whenever they're moving and they find out, oh, well, I want to get involved here. Let's, make sure that we're reaching out to the central office to have that stuff updated. And, part of that is just having better communication overall. So, we're updating the avenues that we are communicating with our alumni.
Very good. The next question, I think, is very apropos to what's been going on these times. What ways would you better communicate and implement the fraternity changes that will come in the next 2 to 4 years? And I'll address that first to Monica.
Thank you. I hate to beat a dead horse, but we're probably going to go back to that communications and marketing chair. I think that is going to be the best avenue for how things are filtered down from your board directors to your RVPs, to your undergraduates, to your alumni, to your Golden Council, everything like that. I think that's important. Telling a story, I think, is essential about how a decision comes into play. And we have seen that work really well in the past, and we've seen some situations to where we could have done better. And I think hearing over the past 4 years, some situations about where people have questioned and brought concerns to decisions that have been made. I think there's a lot of miscommunication that comes across, which means that's not necessarily being communicated properly. So I think we have to do our best, and sometimes our best is not always effective. But you know, I think as long as we are listening on how people are wanting to be communicated to, I know that's a huge broad basis, but I think it's important to meet people where they are. So for instance, emails, Facebook, social media, I think that's going to be our best way to get those implemented for sure.
Very good. Thank you. James?
So like Monica had mentioned and everything, once again, just basically finding various ways to communicate the information that is, you know, coming forward in a way that will reach all of our brothers. So not just email, not just social media, but it has to be across various platforms. And, you know, having a communications director will, you know, help that process along. But we also need to have, you know, ways that are more interactive so brothers, you know that their voices are being heard. Let's see here. I guess basically doing a better job of explaining, you know, why various decisions have been made, and why the decisions were made the way that they were. I know sometimes people say, you know, my voice wasn't heard. Well, sometimes you have to have a task force committee because you need to be able to be agile enough to move forward with the conversation before you bring, you know, a solution to a problem to a larger audience. So then this way you can move a little bit more and be a little bit more flexible, I'll say. But yeah, and then just trying to find ways that in a way is like, you know, Monica had said, telling a story, being entertaining, that, you know, people want to see the information. They want to hear the information, not just, okay, here's the information. Now I got to read through this booklet of, you know, things, you know, it needs to be engaging to why things are happening the way they are.
Okay, thank you. Stacy?
Thank you.
You
As everyone mentioned, you know, communicating the message, right? Sometimes people don't like the messenger, but it's a good message. So if you're not communicating the message appropriately, it's not there. As I mentioned earlier, between a combination of doing town halls, having the communication chair be the head of the communication outreach is important, but also using our leadership. You know, the DDs, the RVPs, the committee chairs, because again, they may not see me, but they may have an outreach with all of those levels. So making sure that everyone understands what's going on, because you have to communicate to the team so they can do that filtering and socializing that message. And also really getting input and feedback, because as we've been talking with our different chapters, they provide feedback. The pledge education program was a prime example. A lot of different feedback was there. And so when you have conversations, you have the pulse of the province, from the alumni and the collegiate perspective. Because again, being in the fraternity, as long as I've been in the fraternity, I have a little historical background that's a little bit different because I've seen some of the changes. So being able to put things in context because of my experience is a very good key, that I can tell the story about when we didn't have female grand presidents, you know, things like that, so that people understand why we're doing the things that we're doing, because I have the historical knowledge to communicate that.
Great, thank you. Now I'm going to do a little freewheeling. So the three of you are running for PVP, and I'm going to ask the question, what, if you're elected PVP, do you think you could do or would do to enhance our province, or your province, because I live in the South, and how would you implement them during your term? And I'll start this one out with James.
So I would say the thing I like to do is I like to, be funny. I like to try to, use humor as a way to kind of get people to open up and everything. And understand that we are all people, we're all brothers, we're all trying to work towards the same goal and everything like that. We can have discussions, we can have disagreements, but we can move forward and everything like that. But I feel like humor is a way that kind of brings people together and everything. There's so many different avenues that you can go whenever you're talking about communication and everything like that. I think finding a way to utilize the upcoming social media, or even current social media and everything, to find a way to be engaging with the information that's coming out, so it's not just, like I said, an email that comes through and you got all this information to kind of read through, but make it something that's a little bit more personal. And that's going to involve having those people that want to be creative and want to help get the message out, and collaborating with them to try to figure out what's something that we can do that's fun, that still gets the message across, and will still move us forward. And it's not where it misses the point of what you're trying to share, but not so much just the information, and it's not grabbing people's attention.
Okay, thank you. Stacy, you're next.
I think if I'm elected, the one thing I want to do is build a bridge. I want to have a bridge of leaders within our province that we can start at district director. Then we have really viable candidates at the leadership roles, from provincial committees, regional vice president. Secondly, we have a lot of scholarships in our province that are a little smaller funds. So I really want to be an advocate to increasing those funds in the CLFs, so that all of our chapters have money in their CLF, and really doing that, because I'm an advocate for, the foundation. And I think a third thing is that, we talk about something fun. I have been around a little bit. So I think that if you challenge people, let's say we win the most national awards, I might get pied in the face or something like that, and the money goes towards the Leadership Foundation. So when you challenge the province or the region, give them the opportunity to kind of embarrass you a little bit. I'm a sports fan, so if the Falcons beat any of the teams in the province, I might get something. But if they don't, the Super Bowl comes into mind. I get to wear a jersey or something like that. So I think that's the kind of fun thing that people can see a little bit of your personality, but at the same time, it benefits the province.
Great, thank you. Monica? You're muted.
Well, I certainly don't need any help in the embarrassment department. I think I've got that all covered by myself. But I think that's a great idea. But I think one of the biggest things that has spoken to me over the past 4 years as a RVP is humanizing a leadership role. And I want to see that continue in, if I was elected in a PVP role. I think a lot of undergraduates and alumni are scared to get involved because they see us in these roles and they see all the things that we have to do and they think it's overwhelming. And you know what, sometimes it is. But we have an awesome network of other leadership that is around us. And I think it's important to highlight that because, we have a lot of people and a lot of alumni and a lot of undergraduates that would love to be involved, but quite aren't sure how. So in humanizing that leadership position and kind of like what Stacey says, bridge that gap of leadership and brothers and collegiates, and to, make everybody know that this is hard job, especially if you look over the past year with COVID and everything. Dan has made a lot of hard decisions along with the rest of the board. And so there are times to where you have to sacrifice your personal, your family time. But I think it's important to show that raw side as well. As far as logistics and everything like that with the PVP role and everything like that, I think it's important to keep that communication base and that engagement base open as well. And that will certainly help in that PVP role.
Great.
So I'm gonna stop.
Thank you. Thank you. Due to COVID, we were forced to improvise. What do you think we've learned from this experience? What changes should we keep and what changes should we not keep? And I'm going to direct this to Stacy.
I think we have learned the value of brotherhood, to be able to reach out. The thing that I will keep is the being able to have an opportunity to speak to a chapter that's not around the corner. I think the virtual speaking opportunities has been great. Me and Monica are going to be on a couple of panels out in Texas, you know, in a couple of other different places, and really allow us to engage. And also the level of flexibility with the chapter events, that they don't have to be always in their neighborhood. I think that, you know, COVID has taught us that we have to be agile with our technology. We have to understand technology. Obviously, someone who, that's my full-time job is technology. I look forward to really seeing how we use it, because I think we're going to have some level of hybrid activities. And I don't want us to lose that. I don't want us to lose the fact that we can engage brothers who have been lost all, you know, many years ago out of the way, because the thing that we need to look forward to is the in-person experience and being an advocate for that. So being able to bridge the gap between the virtual experience and the online experience to get our new brothers really an opportunity to really feel about the fraternity and see what the vow and the brotherhood is all about.
Great, thank you. Monica?
Thanks, Mark. I think one of the biggest things that I've seen over the past year with COVID and listening to undergraduates is they miss that in-person time, and they miss that fraternal experience that you can only get one-on-one or in a room full of brothers. And I think that's one of the things that I miss the most. I miss hugging people. I miss even the grip and everything like that. And so I think that's one of the things that we've lost, and across the board, not just fraternally. And so I think that it will be awesome to eventually get to that point. But like Stacey said, I think we are in the hybrid phase for a while, which has its benefits and not so much in the fact that we still miss that personal engagement. But on the positive side of that, I think it's great because, like she said, we are able to now connect more rapidly to chapters around the nation, which is awesome. I am getting to meet more people and more brothers than I have in the last 4 years, probably, and which is awesome. And I think that speaks a lot to our leadership and the positions that we hold, and the fact that, you know, I think it's awesome that people are getting to see us in our roles, not just for ourselves, but I think it's important for undergraduates to see how our leadership is involved so much, because I think without that that virtual world, you kind of miss behind the scenes a little bit. So yeah, I think we've gained and lost a lot, but I think that's a good positive note.
Okay, thank you. James.
So yeah, basically kind of like Stacey and Monica mentioned, you know, the value of our brotherhood has really been magnified during this time. You know, there really is nothing like, you know, being able to go to events and everything like that and seeing people that you haven't got to see in forever and everything like that. And now that we're virtual, we can see everybody, but it's still not quite the same. You know, it's hard to look at a bright screen for, you know, hours on end and everything like that. So it'll be nice to get back in person and everything like that. But, you know, it has taught us how to embrace learning new technology. If you weren't comfortable with it, you kind of have to, you know, be comfortable with learning it now, you know. And I think that everybody's kind of understood that, oh, I can learn this, you know. So you know, kind of whatever comes down the pipeline, we're gonna be able to handle that. And I think that that's, you know, one of the good things that it's kind of cuts and everything like that. But then, you know, as leadership and everything like that being virtual, before it was like, okay, well, whenever I can make a trip out there and everything like that, now that everybody's more comfortable, it's not a problem to hop on a Zoom and everything like that and still have some face to face. Even if it isn't in person, it's still better than, talking over the phone and everything like that. So I think that, we can keep implementing that kind of stuff in the future here.
Great, thank you. Over the past year, other than COVID, diversity, equity, and inclusion has become an important topic in our country and in our fraternity as far as relevance, and it's a necessity for our organization. As a PVP, what are your plans to develop and engage more diverse and representative leaders in our province? And I'll start this off with Monica.
Thanks, Mark. You're absolutely right. I think as we have seen over the past year and the years that have been the past 5 years or so, we are increasingly aware of the lack of engagement and continued education that we have in regards to DE&I. And I don't think it just stops at a checkbox when we have one event that, like I said, marks that box of, yep, we did it. I think it's like a continued conversation. And I think it includes engaging others around us, not just ourselves. And as a white female, it is me taking a step back and saying, you know what, this is not my time to speak. This is my time to listen. And bring that to the table. And you know what, I have a lot of respect for the leadership that has brought that initiative to the table and had a continued conversation. And I think our response to all the situations that happened last summer was a great step for our organization. It was the first time we had ever spoken on that. A situation like that. And you know what, I think that is a wonderful step for our organization to continue that conversation and to continue to be involved in situations when it comes to culture and race.
Great. James?
In terms of D&I, I think, there's some actionable steps that you can take and everything like that. A part of it is, kind of waiting on society or trying to help society move along to match what, you want and everything like that. I think the organization can help that, but as far as, what we can take care of and everything, first thing is jumping into the awkward conversations and understanding that you may say something wrong, but people need to understand that, we're going to make mistakes, but we need to start having the conversation and learn from it, wherever those conversations may lead. And we can't be afraid of getting into the awkward, I'll say, but, as far as, what we can do that's actionable straight out the gate and everything, making sure that our committees and everything like that are diverse, whether it's having, people of different ethnicities, backgrounds and everything like that, geographically, making sure that we're having, people from all of our regions represented on those different committees, having people from, large schools, small schools, if they're collegiates, alumni, whatever it may be, just trying to make sure that we're having diversity throughout, the gamut. It's not just, trying to diversify ethnically or, racially or whatever it may be. It's, trying to make sure that we understand that there's a lot of different voices and we need to try to do our best to, involve all those different voices.
Great, thank you. Stacy?
Thank you. I think one of the things is in terms of DEI, I know that our collegiate chapters have been leading the way in that respect, in really getting feedback and input from them. Maybe I know the fraternity is doing a task force for DEI. That might be something that we might want to do at a provincial level to really engage people. And of course, people see myself as a Black female, being a role model for people in respect to, hey, I can be a leader. If I'm elected PVP, that might encourage some people. Wow, she has came from a DD to a PVP, and being that role model. And I take that responsibility very seriously. I am, looking at expansion is a good way to get diversity in leadership, because we can go to different schools, like HBCUs that we have in our province, and having different alumni that we wouldn't tap otherwise. And again, using Howard and different other schools that, again, bringing in people through the engagement process. But, like I said, hopefully people see me as an example, and that they will say, hey, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Great. Okay. Next up would be, hold on, sorry. Oh, I think that was, I'll go on to the next question. Propose at least one Northeastern Provincial Community Service project, which could be either ongoing or a one-time event. And we'll start this off with James.
That's a really good question. I think first, it's not so much about what I think would be a good idea. It's about what does the province want to do? Because I can think, something's incredible, from here to next week. But if it doesn't grab anybody else, then, it's not going to have that same kind of oomph. It has to have the support of the province. I'd say the first thing that you have to do is, like we said, communicate. You have to be able to reach out and say, what is it that you all want to see happen? Is it something that's, DEI related? Is it something that is, a certain organization, whatever it may be, and have people understand, like I mentioned earlier, that if you have an idea, bring it forward. Don't feel like, you need to hide it. Like if it's something that's personal to you that you've been involved with, but you think that, it can be scaled up and everything to the province level, bring it forward and let's go for it.
Okay, Stacy?
I actually have two things. One, just from my experience, a lot of chapters do Relay for Life. If we can do something in person, I personally been affected. My mom died of cancer. And so that is, something that I know that some of the chapters have already been doing. Another thing is, we have people that love to walk, so some type of charity walk that we can do across the province, because again, like James said, you want to have something that's going to be universal. But looking at what people already do. Personally, I love Ronald McDonald House. Not everybody likes cook, but I do. Every now and then my picture pops up on the National Fraternity when we're sitting out there in the DC Ronald McDonald House. So there's at least 3 different ways, support what we already have, look at what the chapters are doing, like with Relay for Life, and then, just really, doing service, because I love service.
Great, thank you. Monica?
Awesome. Kind of like what Stacy mentioned, I know we don't have the initiative now, and as far as provincial community service overall, but as far as a specific charity or organization, but I think it's a great idea to, like James said too, tap into what everybody else thinks. I might have a great idea, but I probably don't have the best idea. And so listening to what our province thinks that we should donate to. I love the idea of a walkathon. That's great. With COVID, we've seen those go virtual. And we've seen those go onto apps. So I think those are awesome. Personally, I don't like 5Ks because I hate running, but I will walk. Especially if it supports anything as in regards to DSP. I think it's also important to maybe tap into maybe our local charities and organizations as far as community service go. We have a lot of people that are in the province that are involved in such things for their jobs and their careers. So getting them involved and seeing possibly how we might be able to partner with their organizations to see if we could make a difference locally, I think is really cool. I'm a big supporter and a big proponent of supporting your local community. And I think it's very important that chapters and alumni and collegiate both have that opportunity to support their local communities as best as possible.
Okay, thank you. We're coming to the end of our hour, or a little bit over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each of the candidates an opportunity to kind of wrap up and conclude what they said tonight, and tell you a little bit about themselves and about what they stand for. And I'll start that out with Stacy.
Thank you, Mark, for moderating. Thank you, brothers, along with the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter, for hosting this forum tonight. It really gives the brothers in the province an opportunity to learn about all three of us, and so I appreciate that opportunity. If I am fortunate enough to be the head of Team Northeast, I want to really be the province voice on the board of directors. I believe that my experience really complement what the board needs at this moment in time. And if you want to find out more information about me, my Instagram is above my head and also my website. And I really would like an opportunity to talk to the chapters, or individually, to really get my insight on what I would like to do. And again, answer any kind of questions that you have. Like I said, thank you, Mark, and thank you, Monica and James, for the opportunity. And thank you, audience.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Monica?
Thanks, Mark. And thank you again, everybody, for joining. This was a pretty cool opportunity that we get to engage so early with everybody. And so I hope you take the feedback that you've had from us and back to your chapters. And I hope that brings more enhanced engagement. I think one of the best things one of the best experiences I've had with this so far is the overwhelming support of the community that we have as brothers in DSP. And I think it's really important to highlight that no matter what happens and where we all go, because there's only one of us going to win, but we are working together. And we have, I want to thank Jim and Stacy especially for having that communication and keeping that dialogue open. And, this is sometimes we are a very close-knit community with Team Northeast. And you know what, I think I'm very proud to see that continue. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Monica. James?
So, yeah, thank you all very much. Thank you, Mark, for moderating Cincinnati Alumni Chapter. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy and Monica. It's like Monica said, it's been great to have that open communication, just to have that mutual respect amongst all of us and have it be a race of, yes, we want to be elected, but we understand that we're all great candidates, so it's nice to have that in a brotherhood and not have any kind of backbiting, I'll say. But yeah, just thinking about, the possibility of being elected, of, and leading such an awesome province, it's overwhelming to kind of, think that I could be in that kind of position and everything like that. But at the same time, I know that even though I may be the leader of the province, it still comes down to what can I do to help others, to get everybody's voice heard. So it kind of takes away the thought of, oh, I've got all this stuff to do. It's we have all this stuff to do, and we are going to do this together.
Great. I want to thank everybody. Our candidates, we have Northeastern province has great choices. I think Northeastern province is the only one that has 3 candidates, all very well qualified. And I thank them, and I thank everyone that Zoomed in. I appreciate being able to spend an evening in the Northeastern province, even though I live in Florida now. And I want to give a shout out to Bearcat Nation at the University of Cincinnati. Some of my alumni are out there. Thank you for the opportunity to moderate, this forum. And I think you all gave great answers. And remind you that each of the candidates said, hey, if you have any other questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to them. So I encourage you to do that. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary. And Mary, thank you for all your hard work putting this together.
Oh, hey, thanks. Truly a pleasure to be part of this. Mark, thank you for serving as moderator. So it's really good to have you back in the Northeast, even though it's virtually. So of course, being in Florida probably wouldn't be a bad idea either, right? So Candace, we definitely want to thank you for your participation this evening. More importantly, we want to thank you for your professionalism and your brotherhood. It came through loud and clear. You guys care, it shows, and that means a lot. And on the flip side, just think, you only have 5 more months of this. So, in all seriousness, we are grateful for the fact that you've stood, that you've made yourself available and to give the Northeast province, 3 great options. And we, regardless of what happens, we want to thank you for your service for Delta Sigma Pi, for the past, for the present, and we're thanking you now for the future. So, because we know regardless of what happens, all 3 of you will be involved. Audience, so this might be the first time that you've heard from all 3 of these at one time, but it doesn't have to be your last. So, we hope that you will take advantage of the opportunity to commute with them in some way, shape, or form. And again, they have 5 months, and please put them to good use during these 5 months. So please take advantage of that. And of course, learn more about them, but also we also have other races as well, other than just the PvP. So please take the time to educate yourself. On behalf of the Cincinnati Alumni Chapter, we want to thank you for joining us this evening. And we hope that you will join us in the future for our events. We have some of them posted in the chat box. So we hope you will join us. And of course, make sure that you join our Cincinnati Alumni Chapter Facebook page. That's where we post a lot of our things. So the Zoom will remain available for our regular Welcome Wednesday, which is our social. We will stop and you're invited to join us and stay along with this. Otherwise, this concludes the candidates forum, and we will stop recording at this point.